Hi, I'm Doug, your tech support representative for Atlantic British, and in this video we're going to touch base on a common item that's replaced on the 4046 engines, both Bosch and GEMS, would be the water pump. They can fail in several different ways, one being either an outer seal leak, bearing wear out, or an impeller wear out. So we're going to touch base on replacement of the water pump and show you that this is something you can do yourself and in your driveway. This is a relatively easy repair. Now, we offer several different water pumps, each at different levels. All are proper fit to your vehicle. You want to check with your salesman and find out what would best suit your purposes and suit your needs in your vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically show you how to access the water pump, and then I'm going to use this front cover to give you a closer bird's eye view of what you're going to be dealing with when you do the changeover. Okay, so the first step in this is accessing the water pump. Relatively easy to get at. On your Discovery 2s, you're going to have 4 screws that lock down the top of the fan shroud. And you can just lift your hose up and move that out of the way. As you can see, it rests in the shroud. These are just about 1 or 2 turns, and these screws will disconnect. Give a little wiggle when you pull up, that will release everything. And you got a nice spot right on top of the engine to set it on. Next is going to be the fan. This is a 36 millimeter fan wrench. We actually stock these in both 36 and 32 millimeter. Set that right down on top. It's a right-hand thread, and in most cases these will just relatively pop loose after 1 or 2. I like to use a rubber mallet, sort of give it a little shock release. You want to put your hand between the fan and the radiator, so as you're spinning this off, when you get to the end of your threads, you don't want the fan dropping off and possibly causing a nick or a small hole in the radiator. Otherwise you'll just be making your job a lot harder. And these spin off relatively easy. Again, just move your hose up out of the way and lift your fan up and out of there. Just place it in an area where it's not going to be damaged. So now you're looking at the water pump pulley and the belt. Now with the belt on, this would be a good time now to loosen up the 3 bolts that hold that water pump pulley on, because that belt is going to help you hold that in place. You don't have to take them off at this point, but you do just want to make sure you crack them loose, back them off a couple turns, so that when you get the belt off, they're going to come off relatively easy. Go. Quick snap usually breaks them loose. Now you can use a long breaker bar, or if you have a short ratchet with an extension pipe on it. This is a 24-inch half-inch drive ratchet with a 15 millimeter socket on it, and you're just going to put that right on your belt tensioner. Downward motion, relieve the pressure off the belt, slip the belt off the bottom pulley, and then lift right back up on your tensioner. Now, before you remove the belt, make a good note of where it's routed and how it's placed on each pulley. This will make your reassembly a little bit easier as well. If you need to, sometimes I even take pictures before I take things apart, and I can refer back to the picture when I go to reroute it back together. And at this point, you want to take a good look at your belt. Look for any cracking, separation, dryness, splitting. At this point, this would be good if the belt is showing any sign of wear. That would be a good time to replace your belt. So now we're looking at the water pump pulley mounted directly up front. We've already loosened up the bolts, so it's just the three bolts, and these have a 10 millimeter head on each bolt. And give a little wiggle and that comes right off. If yours is stuck on there, just a small tap with a hammer here and there. You don't want to hit it hard because you don't want to do any damage to the pulley. And then we'll place that off to the side. So now we're looking at the water pump. You've already accessed it. It was just that easy. Now at this point you want to drain some of the coolant out of the system so that it doesn't all dump out on you when you remove that water pump. Now on the Disco 2s, these don't have a drain plug in the radiator. And in most cases, most guys will pull the lower radiator hose, which makes a tremendous mess and spills it all over. If you access this bottom bolt in the water pump, you have two bolts with 7/16 heads on them on the full right hand side, or actually on the driver's side of the block. The bottom bolt actually is open to a water jacket. Put a pan down underneath the front of the engine, you take that bolt out and it will drain the block down to that point, which will make the mess considerably less when you go to take this water pump off. Now what we're going to do is, we have a front cover that's out of the engine. We're going to show you the location and how the water pump is going to mate up to that. It's relatively easy. The worst part of the job is going to be cleaning the old gasket off of the front of the block, because normally that's where it will stay on. It won't come off with the water pump. Okay, so I'll just give you a better bird's eye view. We have a front cover that's out of an engine. Your water pump location is obvious right on top. Now when you pull the old pump off, the way the gaskets are set up, they have a sealer on one side, so the sealer is actually going to stick to the case. Now this is an aluminum case, so we don't want to be scraping and gouging away and whatnot. And I find that a little bit of patience, and you can access this pretty easily in front of the engine. Just simply take a razor blade and back drag, and just back drag and keep back dragging. What it'll do is it'll scrape the gasket off without doing any damage to the aluminum surface. Once you've got all the gasket material off, you can take a rag and wipe off all the lint. You want this surface as clean as possible. Now, the water pump is going to sit like so. You have 3 bolts. These are the 2 that we mentioned earlier. There's your lower bolt that you would have removed for draining the system. You'll have another long bolt through here, and then the rest of them are all going to be 10mm head, and from that you can remove your water pump. Again, you're going to clean the gasket off. When you go to set the new gasket in place, I find one of the things that makes this a lot easier is I use a product called High-Tack. They're spray-on sealers. Any one of those products that'll make this gasket, it'll tack it up so that once the fluid or once the spray gets tacky enough, you can set your gasket in place, and it'll stay in place when you go to put the pump on. Makes it a lot easier, and certainly you don't want to end up with any leaks when you're done with the repair. When you put it back together, just a simple matter of tack up the gasket, lay that in place, it'll hold itself in, put your pump on, start all your bolts, and then work in a outward fashion. Start from the middle, across, and tighten your bolts in a crisscross pattern, and that ends up causing less distortion on the body and on the pump for a good seal. Then it's just a matter of reinstall your lower hose, put your fan and your belt back on, put your shroud on, and you're good to go. So again, when you're ready to change over the water pump on your vehicle, and I said this will work on any of the 4.0 and 4.6, both GEMS and Bosch, which would be your P38 Range Rover, Discovery 1, Discovery 2, late Classic, and your Defender 90 as well. So give a call to any of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210, and they'll be happy to help you out.